Roxstars. It's Rox coming to you today with the review for Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7, The Reunion Part 3. And thank God this is over. I'm going to get through this fast, you guys. It ain't going to be too much pondering. I'm just going to tell you what happened and let that be that. Okay, the review. Let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys, show opens. Jacqueline and Mia are still arguing. Jacqueline tells Mia that she is unhinged. She said she's not unhinged in any kind of way. Remember, we had got the receipts out at the end of last episode. So now we got the paperwork out, and Giselle was just like, why are we doing this? We don't need all this paperwork. Just tell us what it is. No, sometimes you got to have that shit in writing. At least I guess that's how Jacqueline and Mia feel. So Jacqueline goes to start to, I guess, dismantle a lot of the storyline that was created on this show. Some I think Mia did on her own. Others I think Mia and Jacqueline created together. First of all, she says the business is in shambles, that Mia is not the CEO and actually Gordon is. Mia denies that. Jacqueline tells us how Gordon doesn't trust Mia because she was out of town in Atlanta going to see what he thought was her ex-boyfriend, and so he was calling Jacqueline to find out where Mia was. Okay, and Mia was like, I was going to see my ex-boyfriend's mother, not him. I didn't spend time with him. Gordon was upset because he thought I was going to see the ex-boyfriend, but we were able to talk and work it out, so that's not an issue here. Jacqueline says she doesn't sleep with married men, okay, and that Mia pushed that storyline. And Mia said, yeah, okay, yeah, she'll let her have that one. But the only reason why she actually came after Jacqueline is because Jacqueline told her that she needed to get more dick in her life. And she says, and not many people know, but Gordon had prostate cancer or had prostate issues. And he had to have a procedure done, and he's not able to perform sometimes. And Jacqueline knew that. So the fact that even if nobody else knew it, she knew that I knew it, and that it was upsetting to me and for Gordon to have to hear something like that. So that's why she came after her with the sleeping with married men thing. But I guess they're saying that really Mia didn't sleep with married men. So then Andy asked about the Porsche. You know, did they buy the Porsche for her? She said no, she did not get the Porsche. Mia and Gordon did not buy the Porsche for her. She said that was a creative storyline that the two of them came up with. Because at first they were trying to say that they bought it flat out, and then Jacqueline said that they had given her the money for the down payment, but she was like, I got the paperwork right here. They didn't do none of that. So, I mean, you also went along with it, Jacqueline. You know, it's just that when things went very, very left, then they did. And I feel like if you've been knowing Mia all these years, you know how Mia can be. So anything that you agreed upon, like, I mean, you got to kind of be mad at yourself. So it's just a lot of back and forth. And finally, Candace was like, well, is there any way to mend this? Or are we just going to be continuing on arguing like this for the next hour? And bottom line, nope, don't look like they're going to be able to mend this. So we're going to table this for now. Hopefully, you know, Andy was just like, the fact that you guys are more like sisters, it is sad that you guys have, you know, that it ended like this. So hopefully you guys can work that out. Next topic. So we take a break, and when they go to break, we see backstage getting dressed, you guys. And I know a lot of people gave Shasha such a hard time with her look. I didn't think she looked bad. I thought that the blue actually looked nice on her skin because I wasn't really a fan of that royal blue on anybody, but I thought it looked nice against her skin. I wish that she didn't have all of that hair overdone on her top of her head, but apparently everybody was telling her she looked like her daughter. I'm assuming Skylar is her daughter. Maybe her daughter wears those ponytail styles often. But I thought that she didn't look bad, you guys. I think people give Shasha a hard time. It's hard when you have very big boobs and like broad shoulders, and she is very broad up here. I know they gave her the cutout on the side kind of gives the illusion of like a more tapered waist. But it's really hard to do stuff about your chest. If she would have had something low cut on, then people would have been like, that's too much titty, you know. And then the fact that she had on something that hit her at the neck right here, that also kind of made her boobs look very, very big. Like, I feel like they could have done something that was maybe off the shoulder or something that would have just softened up this neckline area. They asked her while she's backstage, is she looking forward, or, is she nervous about seeing anybody? And she was just like, no, actually, I'm usually kind of nervous before these things, but today I'm not really nervous. I know that there's probably someone who's not really happy to see me. And we know that someone is Karen. All that shit that Charisse was saying when they went to the strip club. Okay, now it's time to pay the piper. So we welcome Shasha back, Andy was just like, boy, it's been about 4 years since she's been here. And she was just like, yes, it has been. And Andy makes it clear that they are the ones, Bravo, or what's the name of the entertainment company? Is it Shed Entertainment? Whoever, the producers of Real Housewives of Potomac are actually the ones who asked Charisse to come back. Wasn't no big plot for Charisse to come back to take down Karen, okay? That actually, quiet as it's kept, all of the ladies like Shasha on the show, with the exception of Karen, obviously, and Wendy doesn't really have a relationship with her either, but yeah, everybody likes her, including Candace, including Mia. So, that's why she's here, because everybody was kind of giving Giselle and Robin a hard time by saying they brought her back because, we needed somebody to get at Karen. But we also can point out that Giselle is a part of the production team. Okay, but I'm gonna just leave that alone. Now, they showed a package about Charisse, and then one of the viewer questions was why Karen was so against going out to have a conversation with Charisse, knowing that they had their issues and maybe this was a way to get it out on the table. Karen was basically just like, well, just because you don't understand it, I'm asking that you respect it. She refuses to talk about her mother's funeral, which really was a big part about why Karen and Charisse, well, what Karen had said on the show anyway, of why they weren't, Karen wasn't feeling her like that. So for her to get to the reunion, to me, was just sort of like, I wasn't really okay with that, because Karen, you can't put up this whole, you can obviously, but you put up all this fuss about her disrespecting the mother's funeral, which I really honestly don't know if I feel like Charisse did that with ill intentions. It may have even been a way of her trying to get back in good graces with Karen, because maybe she might have felt bad about the shit that she said about Karen and Blue Eyes or whatever. So, but I don't think that, because people just don't do that kind of thing with ulterior motives in mind. I don't believe so anyway. Karen shutting that down, I don't know, I wasn't really okay with that. But it is what it is. Shout out to Ashley. Ashley Miller, not Ashley on the show. While we're having this conversation about Karen and Charisse's friendship, Charisse was like, she didn't understand why they were having so many problems. She was just like, why don't you tell them how I was invited to your 55th birthday party, which was just a few years ago. And and that was after the funeral. So for you to say that you had a problem with me coming to the funeral, but then turn around and invite me to the birthday party, it makes no sense. And it doesn't. So Karen didn't really have, to me, a proper answer to that either, I think Karen just realized that she don't really like Charisse like that, and that is fine. I would rather you just be like, girl, I just don't like you. Just something about you. Just don't rub me right. Okay? I ain't even got to have a real reason for it, but I just feel like since the season happened, I definitely know I don't like you now. Now, of course, Karen ain't gonna fuck with Charisse this season, because like Andy said, Charisse came with every accusation under the sun. And Charisse, you've known me for a long time. You have never seen me like that. You've never seen me do anything like that. And Charisse was just like, yeah, she didn't see her do those things. However, Karen was talking so much shit about her. That's why she, had to come after her like that. Things that she's heard, rumors.
Well, you know what, Charisse? Listen, I have heard many things about you sexually, being sexually inappropriate, but I have never said it, and I never will, because you have children.
And of course, Charisse was like, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. I was just like, well, is this the time that I should bring up this accusation of Katie Ross that's going around on social media, where Katie is saying that her and Charisse slept together, and she lied about it in court to help Charisse get her divorce settlement. I don't even know if I believe Katie. Katie is a little, now you might talk about unhinged. Katie has some addiction issues that Katie is trying to work through. And so it makes it hard for me to believe it. Although it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I'm going to just need to have a little bit more proof before I get to just be signing on with Katie 100%. And we have known Katie to lie too. Okay, even though she says that generally she's a truth teller. But she's lied even on the show. So there's that. Maybe that's one of the things that Karen has heard about Charisse. As far as Mia and the lie that she said about the restaurant owner's cousin or somebody saying that they was messing with Karen, you know, Karen was just like, please let us know, Mia. You don't have to tell me the name. You don't have to tell me the name. Tell Andy and I'll get the name from him because I'm going to sue them. Well, Mia is not going to tell because she says that it's family and she doesn't want to incriminate anybody. You should have never said nothing. But Mia's whole point was everybody was jumping on Charisse, or not everybody, but, you know, folks were saying that Charisse was lying or not believing it or whatever. And so she felt like, well, I have heard some things too. So let me just kind of tell Karen so she can have a chance to respond to them. Well, they're not true, Mia. And Mia was just like, okay, well, if it's not true, it's not true. You said it's a rumor, that's fine, you know. And Karen was like, but see, the whole thing is you don't get to just say these things out loud. And then Wendy made the best point, I think, even of the whole entire season. Wendy was just like, you know, what's funny about this group is everybody on here be so quick to wanting to go and tell a rumor that they heard. But don't let a rumor get told about them by somebody else. Now, all of a sudden, they mad and saying you can't do that. Well, you do it. She do it, 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 she do it. Everybody does it on this show. But when it comes to you, once you be the recipient of the rumor, and of course usually that's not good, then all of a sudden you got a problem with it. I said, that is exactly right. They all do it on the show. So Karen is still maintaining that it's not true. I mean, that is a lot they said that Karen did. Fucking in the bathroom with the bartender she just met. It's just very hard to believe, especially with Karen being who she is on the show. She was regular Joe Blow, maybe you might attempt to do some shit like that, but she got a lot to lose and a lot of people can come forward and blast her, so I just don't know if I believe that. But Robin says that they do get these rumors from people. It's not from the blogs, but people call them friends and folks around Potomac, I guess, and be having shit to say. Karen tells Robin that she tried to protect her when they was in Mexico because there, the rumors that was out about Robin, she didn't even really want to say it all. Even though she insinuates that she has even more information about that situation with Juan and this blonde chick. But Karen said that she protected her. I mean, I didn't see that, but maybe she did. And so then that's the segue to the Robin and Juan part. Now, we see their package and the things that they had been through that season. And they finally, it all culminated in their wedding. And Robin said that the wedding was more beautiful than she even expected it to be. It was a good call to bring it back to Maryland. It was a good call to have her parents there. In retrospect, that was a good idea. She should have never said that she wasn't going to have them there and that it was amazing. Giselle said that she did feel some kind of way that she wasn't invited. She just knew that Robin was going to call her the day of the wedding and tell her to come, but nope. And Robin was like, I'm sorry, but it just felt perfect the way that it went down. You just gonna have to get over it. Did you sign a prenup? And she said, yep. And how does that prenup fare? Well, it's 50-50. I mean, and I guess I'm okay with that. Robin says that they've gotten to this place in their life by equally contributing to the relationship and all of that. So she felt like 50-50 would be fair. He's not gonna get control of her business or anything like that. But, just the other assets outside of her businesses, he'll get 50-50. Andy says, and is there a fidelity clause in there? And that child told us no. Now, I understand you ain't trying to set your marriage up for, you already thinking that it's going to be infidelity in the future and all of that. But how can Robin not put that in there, considering even if she was the only one at the time that knew that Juan had been cheated, why would you not put that in your why wouldn't you put that in your paperwork? And I don't buy her saying that she was setting her own self up. maybe she might do something in the future. I don't buy that. I just feel like Robin didn't want to put that in there because she knew that Juan was going to be upset about it, and she wasn't trying to like start the marriage off again in this bad way. And, she trusted him and gave him a pass. But I was just like, girl, let's just hope that shit don't come back to bite her in the ass. Now, Karen, why was you so obsessed with Robin being married this season?
Oh, you know what I was? I was obsessed, right? Because it was just like she just kept on saying that she was getting married and then she wasn't getting married. And it was just sort of like, girl, stop saying you're going to get married if you're not getting married.
As far as the blonde girl, Karen still maintains that, yes, there is a blonde girl. She was like not one of them scribbly looking girls that you showed on the show or anything. But, there is a woman supposedly that's blonde, young, and maybe looks like a more younger Karen that Juan was supposedly messing with, and she ain't got no pictures of proof or nothing, even though she kind of acted like she did it. She was about to pull a Jocelyn on us. Remember when Jocelyn was going to pull out that marriage license? Then she was just like, it's no license. As far as Robin and Wendy and her not inviting the kids, and Wendy saying that it was against the kids, and Robin saying she has no problem with the children, that is, she had the problem with Wendy, and she thought that it was okay for Wendy's kids to come without her if Candace brought them or whatever. I don't even care about any of that, okay? I don't think Robin has a problem with Wendy's kids. They bring up the lawsuit that Juan is involved in, and Robin says that she doesn't want to talk about it too much because, of course, it's ongoing investigation. However, Juan didn't do the things that they say he has done, that he handled it properly. She was aware of the situation as it was going on, and that the blogs used Juan for clickbait, basically, to bring more attention to the story. But yeah, she said, yeah, I'm not saying that the shit that the boy, that the young guy was saying one of the coaches was doing to him is not true. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the part that Juan handled, what he played the part in this, he didn't do anything wrong. So, I guess we'll see as more of that story comes out. Now, speaking of Juan, we have the husband segment. And I think that is really shitty. I know that Juan is not on this show. It's the Real Housewives of Potomac. So I get it that Juan is not like really on the show like that. But I don't think that is fair that he gets to avoid coming to the reunion every single season under the guise of him working. It's just sort of like half of the shit this season was about Juan, and Juan ain't there. And especially now that but see, I know that Juan don't want to come on the show because Juan ain't doing the hell Juan supposed to be doing. So he ain't trying to get up there and getting caught up or hemmed up in something that he can't get out of. Because these girls are just that spiteful to have some information on him and then wait until his ass show up and then tell him while they sitting there on that stage. So Juan is just like, fuck that. I ain't coming out there for y'all to get me caught up in some damn trick bag. But that shit is not fair. The other husbands are there. And yeah, I know it's just them trying to support their wives and everything. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Juan, there should be a lot of pressure on Juan to come do this, the reunion. That's neither here nor there, though. The nigga ain't there. So the rest of the fellas come out there, and Andy says hi to everybody, Eddie say hi to everybody, but he not flirting with nobody. This is Chris's, fourth or fifth reunion. He's an old pro at this. He's feeling good about things, hey, Big G or Gordon or G or G Money or whatever other variation of his name you want to call him. And we got Uncle Jessup, who has been at every single reunion for his wife, which is more to say than anybody. Karen has been consistently with one person the whole time. And I think Eddie's been there the whole time as well, but Wendy hasn't been there, obviously, as long as Karen has. So that's something to say for Uncle Jessup, too, right? So we start with Gordon and Mia, and, they asked Gordon, how difficult it was for him to, be there with Mia, with her health scare. And actually, I almost got a tear. Okay, Gordon was actually very, emotional and saying how hard it was, to not know what exactly was going on. And he was like, and I just was looking at my wife. He said, you got to be realistic about these things. Like, she might have cancer. She might not be here. I look at my children thinking that they're going to be motherless. I'm going to be wifeless, and he was like, it's hard. And child, y'all know, it's something about when men cry, that shit affects me. Okay. And so that actually was a welcome, authentic, emotion from this reunion as well, and I think that G and Mia, I really do think that they really love each other. I do, even with Mia and all her shit. Andy asked him about the speculation between him and Jacqueline, and he was just like, yeah, the speculation has not really happened. Did you guys have sex with each other? He says no. Have you had sex with any of Mia's friends? And he says no. Andy was just like, oh, only just when you guys had sex with Peter's girlfriend. And he was just like, he basically was like, she sucked my dick. He didn't say that, but he might as well have. Like, I might have been a little face in the place, a ding sucking or whatever, but there was no penetration. Then, you guys, we get to the Giselle, Chris, Candace thing. And I was just like, ugh. But listen, I think that Chris 100% deserves to tell his side, and he was quite frustrated and upset. He started off very mild, but, when Giselle tried to interrupt him, he was like, oh, no, let me talk. You done talked the whole damn season, and I haven't had a chance to say nothing. I've had to answer to my friends, my family, like, you gonna let me speak. I was like, uh-oh. Chris's main thing was like, what did I do? You kept on saying that he needs to apologize for what he did, okay? Giselle keeps maintaining that the way that she felt uncomfortable, but he was like, but that's not something that I did. That's something that you felt, okay? And to me and to most people, when you say somebody did something, there was an action that was done that caused you to feel that way. But Chris said, listen, I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong because he's had respect for them. He's been around them many times. So, even though she came, when they got in the room, they found out, then it was all this conversation about whether or not he asked her or she asked him, okay, to go back to her room. That doesn't even really matter, okay? But fine, you get in the room, you notice that your people are not there, then you say you're not comfortable, and then I say, okay, well, let me just go on and go, okay? But for Giselle to, even though Giselle was not really coming clean on how she was wording things, she was making it seem like Chris had done something to her physically. Or even if it was just a googly eye or something, and the whole thing about being the sneaky link and, her apologizing and Candace not wanting to accept that apology and saying that wasn't an apology, and then of course Candace was so upset listening to this back and forth between Chris and Giselle. And Candace really could have just let Chris handle it. Chris was handling it fine, but this is when the shit really went left. So on the heels of the colorism conversation that we had just had, well, it was last week for us, but it was just it probably was just a couple of hours maybe earlier in that day. I do think that Candace was really, really mad. And Candace is usually good with expressing herself, even though a lot of times that shit can be quite raw and very, depending on how you feel about Candace, you may or may not like what she has to say. But, Candace, for her to say that Giselle, stood on her white ass, on her privilege, looking like a white ass woman, for her to basically lie on Chris like that and know that a lot of people will believe her because of the fact that she's lighter skinned. Candace was upset about that. She talked about the girl's white skin and all. Basically, like Tammy said on Twitter, she was doing really good until she wasn't. Because it was just like, now, colorism, y'all, look, I have a hard time, like, sometimes seeing colorism. That's a fault of mine, okay? Those things I don't pick up on all the time. However, Candace really does speak on the skin tone probably more than anybody else on the show. Okay, she verbalizes it. Even if what they say is implied or felt, she actually verbalizes it. She has said many things about the lighter skinned women. You know, the whole thing about Ashley being a bed wench for this white man, and you know, his whore, and you know, all of this, and he's a slave master, a slave driver, and you know, I think that Candace may have some issues. You know, she's probably had some challenges, especially coming from the pageant era. And I'm sure that there is a lot of colorism that goes down, especially when she was more active in it. And so I think that Candace has some deep-seated issues within herself that makes her super sensitive to what she sees as colorism on the show. Even though she has said that she didn't think the women on the show were colorist, but then she says all of this, and it was just sort of like, well, Candace, you probably lost some people when you made those statements. And even Wendy had to jump in and say, I understand that you're mad, and I understand, you know, that this is a sensitive issue for you and for all of us, but, you know, you have to be careful with the things that you said, because you just talking about this woman's skin the same way that you've been saying that you've been feeling like they've been doing to you. And Candace says she don't apologize because she's aware and she knows that, but she still stands behind what she says. But yeah, I think that Candace, I think that there's some issues there. I am going to continue to say that I don't think Candace is dark. I don't. She is darker than the light-skinned women on the show, but the only true dark person on the show is Wendy to me. Wendy and Eddie are dark. Candace does not look dark to me. Candace looks like she's just a little bit darker than me, you know? But I mean, I can't get into the colorism thing anymore. Like, you guys are going to have your opinions, and that is perfectly fine and respected and everything. I just am over it. Okay. But that kind of turned it around for Candace. Once she kind of calmed down, she was able to verbalize how she felt more, you know, without being so insulting to everybody. But yeah, I think it does show that Candace can be immature in certain ways, even though she is a smart girl and she's good with her words, you know, and she knows how to express herself. Yeah, there still is some immaturity there. And it didn't do her the best because once again, she's being looked at as this petulant child that's having a fucking tantrum on the show again, you know, when she was doing so well all season. My whole thing is, I don't know if this is like controversial, but it seems like a lot of times when people are in interracial marriages, that whoever is the black person in that relationship, they are super pro-black. Yet they have a spouse that is not black. And it's interesting to me that Candace can get up there and say a lot of the things that she says and have a husband who is white. Like, how do Sunday dinners work with the in-laws with the shit that you say on this show? I mean, she said that her and her in-laws don't get along all that well. But Candace can't help. She can't be a help in that state, because she says some things that I just be like, girl, you know, maybe she don't think about it. But it's just always interesting to me that, yeah, people a lot of times, I won't say every time, because of course I don't know every interracial relationship, but it just always seems like a black person has to, they're almost way more black. You know, they go hard for black issues and all of that because blue. And I don't know if it's them trying to take up for the fact that they married outside of their race, so now they have to really prove that they're down or what, but you know, so it's just an observation, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Any of you guys in interracial relationships? Can you expound on that, whether or not I'm right or wrong, and just let me know, like, do you feel like you have to be that way because of the fact that you feel like you kind of have to prove your blackness to people? Hold on 1 second, somebody must be here. That's the mail lady. Leave the mail lady alone. But you know, that still, I feel like that shit with Chris, was bullshit, and I feel like Giselle kind of single-handedly ruined that relationship on the show, because I just don't think that Chris had any ill intentions behind all of that. All right, so then next we get to Housewives After Dark and all of the sex shit that happened on the show, okay? Karen, why don't you like your titties to be called titties?
Well, because titties are on dogs. They might as well call them udders.
We talk about Robin being drunk on the show. How does Juan feel about that? Well, Juan likes when she comes home drunk. Okay, but he don't really watch the show. I said, I bet he don't. Then we talk about the boxes, okay, and whether or not Mia wanted to eat Wendy's box. Wendy says, well, let's just be clear. You know, we were all very, very drunk. We were all in the bathroom, and we were talking about coochies. And so we all decided to show each other their coochie. So Candace showed her coochie, Ashley showed her coochie, Mia showed her coochie, and Wendy showed her coochie. And everyone agreed that Wendy had a very nice looking coochie. I was just like, well, you girls do shit different these days. I can 100% say that I ain't never seen my friends' coochies. I ain't none. Now, I done seen some boobs. But I ain't never even desired to look at they coochie. But I mean, you know, I guess. Andy was just like, so you guys can't get along on the show, but you can all show your coochie. I got it. Lastly, Uncle Jessup, what did you think about Karen and this whole infidelity?
You know, I was a little disappointed in all of the ladies. You know, and usually Karen, she just kind of takes these things with a grain of salt. And she doesn't usually get involved in the nastiness, but this time she had to.
And Karen was just like, okay, well, you ain't answered the question, though, Uncle Jessup. How did you feel about the infidelity rumors? And he was just like, oh, that's bullshit. Okay, that's all I needed you guys to know what my man thought. Karen is like, they keep on telling me that I cheated with this man, but
You know, I've never seen the pictures. I don't know. They wouldn't show me the pictures. So as far as I'm concerned, that was not me.
And Andy was like, well, I saw the pictures and she was just at the bar. So it wasn't like she was caught in the bed, you know, having sex with somebody. So, I mean, that doesn't prove that she was cheating. Then Robin brings up how Juan felt, you know, she felt like Juan was accused of sexually assaulting Karen. Is that what you were implying, Karen?
I did not imply that he sexually assaulted me, but he did inappropriately touch me. And he needs to learn how to keep his hands to himself.
And, you know, Uncle Jessup said that she had even mentioned to him how tightly she hugged him. And, you know, Robin was just like, I mean, him giving you a tight hug, that still don't mean that he was, but fine. Okay. Just don't hug the bitch no more. So then that's it. That is the men's segment off the show. And so they get off the stage. You know, we see Candace and Chris doing their little handshake and, you know, Mia telling Gordon how much she loved him and, you know, Jessup leaving and all of that. Okay, fine. And then we close out the show with the ladies. They play Candace's song. You know, they get up, they dance, they hug it out and all of that. It's all over except for 2 weeks later when we find out that Robin did lie about the relationship that Juan had. As far as Robin is concerned, it was just an inappropriate relationship. It wasn't necessarily him sleeping with this woman cheating. I mean, okay, so we see her on Watch What Happens Live. Her and Ebony K. Williams were on there as guests, but this portion that they showed was all about Robin and what she said, you know, on her podcast and not presenting on the show. So Andy asked her all the questions. And like DJ Richie Sky said, shout out to him. I was looking on his Instagram today. He was saying that it fell flat. I think it fell flat because, honey, it has been discussed and rediscussed and over-discussed and discussed again already on social media. Honey, we done already picked apart that whole story. So now, at the reunion, it's just sort of like old news. People gonna believe what they believe. If you believe that Juan slept with this girl, I think that there's way more to that story. I don't know if it's a case of Robin being naive, Robin trying to support her husband, Robin not wanting to say. I don't really know what it is. But it just doesn't make sense. You know, Robin says that he was talking to this girl. She lives in Canada. She was coming into town because she's dating a Ravens player. Yet and still she gets down into town. She lost her wallet, couldn't pay for her hotel room, and she asked Juan to pay for the room and not the Ravens player. That right there don't make sense. If I'm messing with you, if I'm fucking with you, the least you can do is pay for my damn hotel room, right? So Juan, out the kindness of his heart, decides to pay for her room. I mean, it could be possible, but I'm going to say 90% to 10% that story is inaccurate. Okay? I feel like he bought the room because if he didn't make it up in that room, he had every intentions of going his ass up in that room, and maybe some shit fell through. I mean, it did fall. They had problems, and he was trying to pass her off to the other men and all that shit she was saying. I don't know, but I was just like, Robin. But Robin's whole thing was they dealt with this during the pandemic. This was November 2021, and the show for this season didn't start recording until May of 2022. So she felt like in her mind they had already handled it off screen, and there was no need for her to talk about it on the show. But then she gonna say she was waiting for somebody to bring it up on the show. And I feel like Karen did bring it up, even if Karen didn't have all of the details of everything. And I don't know, maybe Karen is talking about somebody else, but that still would have been kind of like the fact that she called Juan and that nigga went off the way that he did, like he just been over there just the most favorable husband, ain't doing nothing even inappropriate, just, mad that these girls are so messy. The way he went off, no, you guys still was going to not talk about it, even if it did come up on the show. And that's not Karen's job to bring up your shit on the show. So Robin is telling her story. Andy tells her how Chris is so upset and Candace is so upset. She's been tweeting all day, and Robin can't understand why Candace is upset with her, because Robin actually supported Candace and Chris and didn't think that what Giselle was saying was right. She was on their side. But Andy explains to her that Candace and Chris feel like Chris was the sacrificial lamb to distract from Robin's story. And that's why Giselle and Ashley went so hard for her. And she didn't do it, but they did. And she just kind of sat back. Okay. And it could have really been Robin's guilt. I mean, I won't say that because it was clear, but Robin may have even felt like she needed to make sure she stood up for Candace and Chris because of that. She may have felt bad inside that they were picking her, that this was what the situation was. So at least she can do is be there for Candace and Chris, But I don't know. She never said that, but I just kind of feel like that could have also been at play there. So she said that she didn't bring it up, and she doesn't like to put, the men on blast. And Andy was just like, you put Uncle Jessup on blast when you said that Karen was out there messing around, The men are collateral damage on this show. The men, well, this season especially, they are the storyline. Robin says she doesn't do it, but the only reason why she did it to Karen is because Karen talked about Juan first. Andy asked her, does she get tired of publicly defending him all the time? And she says that she doesn't publicly defend him. She defends the relationship, and she feels bad that he gets dragged into it all the time. And I was just like, I guess. I'm just glad the shit is over. I don't even really care about none of it no more. I think that Real Housewives of Potomac probably has some revamping to do. I'm fine with the cast, but there's some things that they need to work on. That's it for me, y'all. I'm gonna get on off of here, okay? Make sure that you thumbs up this video, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I'm itsrox. The channel is itsrox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, Roxstars. Bye.